The gospel is not about how to escape the world. The gospel is that the crucified and risen Jesus is the Lord of the world, and that his death and resurrection transform the world, and that transformation can happen to you. You, in turn, can be part of the transforming work. N.T. Wright. World War I was called the war to end all wars. Then came the Second World War, followed by the Cold War, followed by hopeful assurances that lasting peace were around the corner. Yet, no matter what we say or do, brutal outbreaks of conflict and slaughter intrude on our hopeful fairy tales of lasting peace. Anyone who follows the news can see we live in a world of conflict between light and dark, good and evil, truth and lies, freedom and tyranny, life and death. Behind these opposites are two realms, or two kingdoms, perpetually at war. One is the kingdom of God, the kingdom of light, where Jesus Christ reigns. The other is the kingdom of darkness, ruled by Satan and his demonic forces. As Billy Graham said, God's forces of good and Satan's forces of evil have been engaged in a deadly conflict from the dawn of our history. Unless world leaders and statesmen understand the true nature of this warfare, they will continue to be blind leaders of the blind. The kingdom of God is centered around the love and worship of God and humble obedience to his ways. Satan's counterfeit kingdom is defined by a prideful rebellion against God. This idolatry is organized in a myriad of ideologies. Our very lives and our cultures are caught up in this great conflict. We experience it daily, not only in the world around us, but also raging inside of us and in our closest relationships. We are introduced to the true king and his kingdom in the first two chapters of Genesis. Out of darkness and chaos, the king creates the realm of light. Life, order, beauty, diversity, and abundance, declaring it all to be good. His magnificent creation culminates with the formation of human beings, male and female, made uniquely in his image and likeness. He gave them a distinctive task, to rule over and care for creation as his vice-regents, to cultivate it. In short, to create cultures that reflect the truth, goodness, and beauty of the king. We are first introduced to the usurper and his rebellious kingdom in Genesis 3. This father of lies, as he is sometimes called, appears in the form of a mysterious serpent who deceived our first ancestors, tempting them to rebel against the true king and grasp power for themselves. In foolishly grasping for selfish autonomy, they succumb to the dominion of darkness and reap guilt, fear, shame, alienation, conflict, murder, destruction, and death. They remain vice-regents, but now their offspring exercise their authority selfishly, in pursuit of glory and power. Instead of protecting creation, they pollute and abuse it for selfish gain. But instead of abandoning his rebellious vice-regents to their horrible fate, the true king reaches out to them, offering undeserved mercy. He embarks on a rescue mission, pursuing reconciliation, restoration, and forgiveness. The great turning point in this war of the ages came some 2,000 years ago, when the true king himself entered into creation in human form, as a humble servant. In Jesus, we see what it means to be truly human and to worship God in perfect obedience. Jesus came to show us what life in the true kingdom looks like. He came to show us that true authority is marked by love and sacrificial service. He came to make a way for us to enter his kingdom. He took our disobedience upon himself and paid the penalty we deserved, dying on our behalf on a Roman cross. His broken body was laid in a tomb. Jesus came to defeat the ruler of this dark world, disarming the counterfeit king of his most potent weapon, the fear of death. In accepting this unspeakable gift of forgiveness, we are welcomed back into his kingdom and adopted children of the king. Those of us who have entered God's kingdom and surrendered our lives in service to the true king are sent into battle against the kingdom of darkness with missions to accomplish. We're not going into hiding, passively waiting for the return of the King. We are to enter into the darkness, just as our King did. Our mission is to fearlessly advance God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. To overcome evil with good, hatred with love, and lies with truth. We are to herald the good news to everyone. We are to fulfill our task as vice-regents as God originally intended, by creating cultures that honor and reflect the character of the risen King. We are to make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey everything that our King has taught, so the cultures of the nations increasingly reflect the culture of God's kingdom. Our King is with us in battle. He fills us with His Spirit, leading us deeper into the ways of the kingdom of light. We wait His certain return, knowing that when He comes, He will bring the war to an end in His own time and on His own terms. Until then, we work in His strength. We fight with His weapons. We do it all for His honor and glory. Bow to the rightful King.